known as the Sicilian Vespers Revolution against the occupying Angevins, is traditionally viewed as the birth of the mafia in Sicily. There are no contemporary mentions of the name mafia, a term which comes into being hundreds of years later, but the underground movement against Anjou may be seen as the ancestor of a later mafia. The revolution began on Easter Sunday in 1282.
Dang.
March 29th by the Julian calendar then in the use. The word mafia derives from the Sicilian adjective mafioso, which roughly translated means swagger, but can also be translated as boldness or bravado. In reference to a man, obviously mafioso, or mafioso in Italian, is in 19th century Sicily signified fearless, enterprising, and proud. In reference to a woman, however, just like Spanish would be.
Or Italian,
obviously, but just trying to make obviously mafiosa, which means beautiful or attractive.
Well, look at that, 1282, huh? Who would have thought? Murdering people since 1282.
Murdering people since the beginning of time.
Right. The first published account of what became the mafia in the United States dates back to spring of 1869. The Netherlands Times reported that the city's 2nd district had become overrun by well-known and notorious Sicilian murderers, counterfeiters, and burglars, who, in the last month, have formed a sort of general co-partnership or stock company for plunder and disturbance of the city. Fantastic. Immigration from southern Italy to the Americas was primarily to Brazil and Argentina. Yes, it was. And Netherlands had a heavy volume of port traffic to and from both locales. I wonder why they went to Southern America. Because it was open and free still?
Not free, but they could, I don't know.
Wild lands? How old is the Brazilian country?
A lot.
Has to be, right?
Probably as old as the United States. Probably more, actually.
I'd say.
Mafia groups in the United States first became influential in the New York City area, clearly, gradually progressing from small neighborhood operations in poor Italian ghettos to citywide and eventually national organizations. The Black Hand was the name given to an extortion method used in Italian neighborhoods at the turn of the 20th century. It has not been, or has sometimes been mistaken for the mafia itself, which it is not, though. Oh. The Black Hand was a criminal society, but there were many small Black Hand gangs. Black Hand extortion was often wrongly viewed as the activity of single organization because criminals in Italian communities throughout the United States use the same methods of extortion.
Right.
Yeah, that Black Hand. What the hell was it? We had a episode of something just not too long ago, a couple weeks ago, something they mentioned about the Black Hand.
Yeah, I think I did just see something like that.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Well, Giuseppe Morello. Giuseppe Morello was the first known mafia member to emigrate to the United States of America. He and his 6 other Sicilians fled to New York after murdering 11 wealthy landowners, the chancellor, and a vice-chancellor of a Sicilian province. Oh, jeez. He was arrested in Netherlands in 1881 and extradited back to Italy.
He'll be our next episode, all about his mafia life and stuff.
From the 1890s to 1920 in New York City, the 5 Points Gang, founded by Paul Kelly, were very powerful in the Little Italy of the Lower East Side. Kelly recruited some street hoodlums who later became some of the most famous crime bosses of the century, such as Johnny Torrio, Al Capone, Lucky Luciano, and Frankie Yale.
Al Capone and Luciano, we already did episodes on as part of our Prohibition stuff way back when. So if you want to, we're not obviously going to repeat those, but if you want to go back and look up those, then you can look up those. But Luciano and Al Capone obviously will play a big part in other people's stories, obviously.
Right.
They were often in conflict with the Jewish Eastmans of the same area. There was also an influential mafia family in East Harlem. The Neapolitan Camorra was also very active in Brooklyn.
Oh, shit.
In Chicago, the 19th Ward was an Italian neighborhood that became known as the Bloody 19th due to the frequent violence in the ward, mostly as a result of mafia activities, feuds, and vendettas.
I would think so.
Right.
Well, moving down to the south, Netherlands was also the site of the first possible mafia incident in the United States that received both national and international attention. October 15th, 1890, Netherlands Police Superintendent David Hennessy was murdered execution style.
Yeah.
It is still unclear whether Italian immigrants actually killed this man or whether it was a frame-up by nativists against the reviled underclass immigrants. Could have been both.
Right. Hundreds of Sicilians were arrested on mostly baseless charges, and 19 were eventually indicted for the murder. 19? Jeez. An acquittal followed with rumors of bribed and intimidated witnesses.
Oh, I bet.
March 14th, 1891, the outraged citizens of New Orleans organized a lynch mob after the acquittal and proceeded to kill 11 of the 19 defendants.
Dang.
2 were hanged, 9 were shot, and the remaining 8 escaped.
Dang.
I'm guessing to New York.
Wow, this is when the Mafia, before everybody was scared of them, huh?
Right.
Like, we'll put you guys out. And they're like, we'll come back, you'll see. Mm-hmm. January 16th, 1919. Prohibition began in the United States, and everybody in the whole country went crazy except for the politicians because they still drank.
Right.
Oh, then we all know Prohibition is illegal to manufacture, transport, or sell any alcoholic beverages at all. Despite these bans, there was still a very high demand for the alcohol from the public, which we all know.
Right.
They call it soda shops, which weren't soda. This created an atmosphere that tolerated crime as a means to provide liquor to the public, even among the police and city politicians.
Yes. While not explicitly related to mafia involvement, the murder rate during the Prohibition era rose over 40%, from 6.8 per 100,000 individuals to 9.7.
Damn.
And within the first 3 months preceding the 18th Amendment, $500,000 in bonded whiskey was stolen from government warehouses.
Oh, shit.
The profits that could be made from selling and distributing alcohol were worth the risk of punishment from the government, clearly,
You ain't kidding.
which had a difficult time enforcing Prohibition.
Oh, yeah. I mean, how are you going to? Right. There were over 900,000 cases of liquor shipped to the borders of U.S. cities. Criminal gangs and politicians saw their opportunity to make fortunes and began shipping larger quantities of alcohol to the United States cities. The majority of the alcohol was imported from Canada, the Caribbean, and American Midwest, where stills manufactured illegal alcohol, obviously. All over the Midwest, dude. Indiana, Illinois. Mm-hmm. Man.
Appalachian, not Midwest, but
Crazy.
And
they did too much in Michigan, though. Maybe like
sure there
lower
were
Michigan.
definitely Detroit. Detroit was
Right.
the Purple Gang.
Right.
We already did an episode on those guys.
True.
They were getting that shit from Canada right there.
Well,
Actually, there's been old-timey cars and booze bottles found in the Detroit River
no shit.
from the Prohibition era.
Well, yeah, cars.
Yeah.
No shit.
Early 1920s, fascist Benito Mussolini took control of Italy, and waves of Italian immigrants fled to the United States. Sicilian mafia members also fled to the United States as Mussolini cracked down on mafia activities in Italy.
Wow.
Most Italian immigrants resided in tenement buildings. As a way to escape the poor lifestyle, some immigrants chose to join the American Mafia.
Oh,
Or they started it.
right. The mafia took advantage of Prohibition and began selling illegal alcohol. The profits from bootlegging far exceeded the traditional crimes of protection, extortion, gambling, and prostitution. But they still did all of those.
Right, obviously.
Prohibition allowed mafia families to make fortunes. As Prohibition continued, victorious factions went on to dominate organized crime in their respective cities, setting up the family structure of each city. The bootlegging industry organized members of these gangs before they were distinguished as today's known families.
The new industry required members at all different employment levels, such as bosses, lawyers, truckers, and even members to eliminate competitors through threat or force.
Mm-hmm.
Gangs hijacked each other's alcohol shipments, forcing rivals to pay them for protection, quote unquote,
Right.
to leave their operations alone, and armed guards almost invariably accompanied the caravans that delivered the liquor.
Crazy,
Yeah,
man. 1920s. Italian mafia families began waging wars for absolute control over lucrative bootlegging rackets. As the violence erupted, Italians fought Irish and Jewish ethnic gangs for control of bootlegging in their respective territories. You don't mess with the Jews and their money, man. And the Irish and the booze. Shit. New York City, Frankie Yale waged war with the Irish-American White Hand Gang. In Chicago, Al Capone and his family massacred the North Side Gang, another Irish-American outfit. New York City, by the end of the 20s, two factions in organized crime had emerged to fight for control of the criminal underworld, one led by Joe Masseria and the other by Salvatore Maranzano.
These actions called Caste la Marisi War, which led to Masseria's murder in 1931.
Oh, shit.
Maranzano then divided New York families into the 5 families.
Oh.
Maranzano, the first leader of the American Mafia, established a code of conduct for the organization, set up the family divisions and structure, and established procedures for resolving disputes. In an unprecedented move, Maranzano set himself up as boss of all bosses and required all families to pay tribute to him.
Oh, shit.
This new role was received negatively, and Maranzano was murdered within 6 months on the orders of one and only Lucky Luciano.
Yeah, I mean, you can't have that.
Who himself was a former Masseria underling who had switched sides to Maranzano and orchestrated the killing of Masseria, so he killed both of them.
Right. Hey.
And then he became the old boss.
As an alternative to the previous despotic mafia practice of naming a single mafia boss as Capo di Tutti Capi, or boss of all bosses, Luciano created the Commission in 1931, where the bosses of the most powerful families would have equal say and vote on important matters and solve disputes between families. So there's no major boss unless you're in Sicily, because I bet you there's still one there.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, we're not even getting into Sicily and Italy's mafia issue. This is just United States stuff.
Right. That's why we're in a United States podcast.
But still, mafia. The real mafia.
We're talking about the American Mafia.
It'll hurt ya. This group ruled over the National Crime Syndicate and brought in an era of peace and prosperity for the American Mafia.
Yeah, man. By mid-century, there were 26 official commission-sanctioned mafia crime families, each based in a different city, except for the 5 families, which were all based in New York, which we know. Each family operated independently from the others and generally had exclusive territory it controlled, as opposed to the older generation of Mustache Petes, such as Maranzano and Masseria, who usually worked with only with fellow Italians. The Young Turks, quote-unquote, led by Luciano, were more open to working with other groups, most notably the Jewish American criminal syndicates, to achieve greater profits. Right.
Well, they would work with them, but you can only be...
You're not joining.
Right. You got to be Sicilian to be made, right?
Mm-hmm. Or from Italy.
I think from Sicily, you have to be
full-blooded Italian.
Right. Yeah. The mafia thrived by following a strict set of rules that originated in Sicily that called for an organized hierarchical structure and a code of silence that forbade its members from cooperating with the popo, which is omerta. Failure to follow any of these rules were punishable by death.
Yes, it usually was.
The rise of power that the mafia acquired during Prohibition would continue long after alcohol was made legal again.
How many of these criminal families, not only the mafia, but like a lot of ones with influence that were making a shit ton of money off of alcohol, do you think they opposed reinstating alcohol?
Yeah, because they still made money off it.
Yeah, but they're not making as much as they would for Prohibition.
Yeah, like the little bars and stuff, they would hijack the trucks and then sell them to the bars.
I mean, I guess, right. I'm not talking about just mafia, though. I'm talking about all these guys. Yeah.
Right, yeah, I think so. They're like, shit. Criminal empires, which had expanded on bootleg money, would find other avenues to continue making large sums of money, like gambling. That's when casinos really were big.
Well, right here. When alcohol ceased to be prohibited in 1933, the mafia diversified its money-making criminal activities to include illegal gambling operations, loan sharking, extortion, protection rackets, drug trafficking. Well, not really a lot of that.
Yeah, they were smart, dude. When they made loans, they're like, I'll give you this $50 loan, but when you pay back, you owe me $150.
Right.
They're like, what, dude? That's 100% interest.
What do they say, like points? 10 points? You owe me 10 points? They had fencing operations and labor racketeering through control of labor unions.
Damn right they did.
Mid-20th century, the mafia was reputed to have infiltrated many labor unions in the United States, most notably the Teamsters, Jimmy Hoffa, and International Longshoremen's Association.
Look at that shit. This allowed crime families to make inroads into very profitable, legitimate businesses such as construction, demolition, waste management, Tony Soprano, trucking,
and construction,
and in waterfront and garment industries. You know, they got to get the clothes for the women
and themselves.
Right. In addition, they would raid the unions' health and pension funds, extort businesses with threats of a workers' strike, and participate in bid rigging. New York City, most construction projects could not be performed without the 5 families' approval. In the port and loading dock industries, the mafia bribed union members to tip them off to valuable items being brought in. Mobsters would then steal these products and fence the stolen merchandise. Jeez.
Yeah, dude, think about all those big-ass skyscrapers that are built in New York City right now. All of them have something to do with the mafia.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Built by the mafia.
Meyer Lansky made inroads into the casino industry in Cuba during the 30s, while the mafia was already involved in exporting Cuban sugar and rum. When his friend Fulgencio Batista became president of Cuba in 1952, several mafia bosses were able to make legitimate investments in legalized casinos. One estimate of the number of casinos mobsters owned was no less than 19.
Yeah, Cuba was a hotspot, dude.
Yeah. Well, however, though, when Batista was overthrown by Fidel Castro, he banned the U.S. investment in the country and put an end to the mafia's presence in Cuba.
He did, but who was there in the 50s? There was a big name that went to Cuba.
All of them.
All right. Las Vegas was seen.
Lucky Luciano went there for a minute, I believe.
Las Vegas was seen as an open city where any family can wake. Once Nevada legalized gambling, mobsters were quick to take advantage, and the casino industry became very popular in Vegas. Since the 40s, mafia families from New York, Cleveland, Kansas City, Milwaukee, and Chicago had interest in LV, and Las Vegas casinos. They got loans from the Teamsters Pension Fund, a union they effectively controlled, and used legitimate frontmen to build casinos. Have you guys ever watched the movie Casino? They delve into that a little bit.
Or listen to our episode on Bugsy Siegel.
All right.
He was the one that went out there and opened up the Flamingo.
Right.
And then got shot in the face through his window.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, when money came into the counting room, hired men skimmed cash before it was recorded, then delivered it to their respective bosses. This money went unrecorded, but the amount is estimated to be in the hundreds of millions.
Oh, obviously.
Operating in the shadows, the mafia faced little opposition from law enforcement. Local law enforcement agencies did not have the resources or knowledge, to effectively combat organized crime committed by a secret society that they were unaware even existed, supposedly.
Oh, whatever.
Many people within police forces and courts were simply bribed, while witness intimidation was also common. Of course, it's the mafia.
Right. 1951, United States Senate Special Committee, chaired by Democratic Tennessee Senator Estes K. Favor, determined that a sinister criminal organization known as the Mafia operated around the United States. The United States Senate Special Committee to investigate crime in interstate commerce, known as the CAFOR hearings, televised nationwide, captured the attention of the American people and forced the FBI to recognize the existence of organized crime in America. 1953, the FBI initiated the Top Hoodlum program.
Oh, shit.
The purpose of the program was to have agents collect information on the mobsters in their territories and report it regularly to Washington to maintain a centralized collection of intelligence on racketeers.
Yep. Well, meanwhile, we got the Appalachian meeting, which was a historic summit of the American Mafia held at the home of mobster Joseph Joe the Barber Barbara at 625 McFall Road in Appalachian, New York, November 14th, 1957. Allegedly, the meeting was to discuss various topics, including loan sharking, narcotics trafficking, and gambling, along with dividing illegal operations controlled by the recently murdered Albert Anastasia. Poor guy.
Right.
Speaking of, the dude's name is Joe the Barber.
Right.
Anastasia got shot in a barber's chair while he was getting his, a shave.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
Estimated 100 mafiosis from the United States, Italy, and Cuba are thought to have attended this meeting. Oh, shit. Majors there, huh? Mm-hmm. Immediately after the Anastasia murder in October, and after taking control of the Luciano crime family, renamed the Genovese crime family from Frank Costello, Vito Genovese wanted to legitimize his new power by holding a national Cosa Nostra meeting. As a result of the Appalachian meeting, the membership books to become a made man in the mob were closed and were not reopened until 1976. Like, we got who we got, and no new people coming in.
Too much attention here. We can't be letting all these guys in no more.
Right.
Well, local and state law enforcement became suspicious when numerous expensive cars bearing license plates from around the country arrived in what was described as the Sleepy Hammond. Yeah, Sleepy Hammond of Appalachian. Why wouldn't they do it in New York?
Right.
After setting up roadblocks, the police raided the meeting, causing many of the participants to flee in the wood and area surrounding the Barbara estate.
Oh, no.
More than 60 underworld bosses were detained and indicted following the raid. Wow.
Oh, shit. 60 of them?
Mm-hmm.
Damn. 20 of those who attended the meeting were charged with conspiring to obstruct justice by lying about the nature of the underworld meeting. Oh, they know.
Okay.
And found guilty in January of 1959. All were fined up to $10,000 each and given prison sentences ranged from 3 to 5 years.
Damn.
Every one of the convictions were overturned on appeal the following year. One of the most direct and significant outcomes of the Appalachian meeting was that it helped to confirm the existence of a nationwide criminal conspiracy, a fact that some, including the FBI, J. Edgar Hoover, this idiot, had long refused to acknowledge, even though he knew.
And probably had his hand in it.
Right. I mean, come on. Al Capone,
right.
Luciano, the whole Prohibition era.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, get out of here.
Genovese crime family soldier Joe Valachi was convicted of narcotics violations in 1959 and sentenced to 15 years in prison.
Damn.
His motive. Oh, he became an informer, by the way. He's the first guy to turn state's evidence. His motivations for becoming an informer had been the subject of some debate. Valachi claimed to be testifying as a public servant to expose a powerful criminal organization that he had blamed for ruining his life, but it is also possible he was hoping for government protection as part of a plea bargain in which he was sentenced to life imprisonment instead of death for a murder which he had committed in 1962 while in prison for his narcotics violation.
Right.
Oh, shit.
He knew he wasn't going to make it in prison.
He murdered somebody in prison.
He probably had to. He probably had to. They probably was there to murder him.
Right.
And that's why he was like, shit, I got to talk here because you think there's some bad mafia guys out there.
Well, let's just say it right here.
Vellecci murdered a man in prison who he feared mob boss and fellow prisoner Vito. Damn, he was a prisoner too. Vito Genovese had ordered to kill him. He was like, man. Vellecci and Genovese were both serving sentences for heroin trafficking in the 50s.
Yeah.
On 22nd.
Seen Outsiders or
Right.
Deuces Wild.
It's true. 22nd of June, 1962, using a pipe left near the construction work, Vellecci bludgeoned an inmate to death, who he had mistaken for Joseph Di Palermo, a mafia member who had believed had been contracted to kill him.
Right.
After time with the FBI handlers, Vellecci came forward with a story of Genovese giving him a kiss on the cheek, which he took as a kiss of death. Usually it is. Mm-hmm. A $100,000 bounty for Vellecci's death had been placed by Genovese himself.
Mm-hmm. Well, soon after Valachi decided to cooperate with the U.S. Justice Department. October 63, he testified before Arkansas Senator John McClellan's Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations of the U.S. Senate Committee on Government Operations.
He's related to General McClellan?
Maybe. Which was known as the Valachi hearings, stating that the Italian-American Mafia actually did exist.
Obviously.
They do exist. The first time a member had acknowledged its existence in public. Damn. You know, he got murdered.
Velacci's testimony was the first major violation of Omerta, breaking his blood oath. He was the first member of the Italian-American Mafia to acknowledge his existence publicly, and is credited with popularization of the term Cosa Nostra. Although Velacci's disclosures never led directly to the prosecution of any mafia leaders, he provided many details of the history of the mafia, its operations, its rituals, and he also aided in the solution of several unsolved murders. And he also named many members and the major crime families. He's like, you guys want to know who the five families are?
Right.
They're like, what, 5?
Oh, jeez.
Like, yeah.
Well, there's more.
There's more. The trial exposed American organized crime to the world through Vellecci's televised testimony.
Damn, televised too. However, this all created more pressure on the mafia. While this all created more pressure on the mafia, it did little to curb their criminal activities.
Right, I mean, come on.
Success was made by the beginning of the 80s, though, when the FBI was able to rid Las Vegas casinos of mafia control and made a determined effort to loosen the mafia stronghold on labor. By the late 70s, the mafia were involved in many industries, including betting on college sports. Several mafia members associated with the Lucchese crime family participated in the point shaving scandal. We all know that, the Boston College basketball team.
Yep.
By Rick Kuhn, Henry Hill, and others associated with the family. They manipulated the results of the games during the 78-79 basketball season.
Was Lucchese ever mentioned in Goodfellas?
I don't think so.
Right, because the guy's name was Paul or something, right?
Yeah,
The
Paulie.
boss,
Paulie, but he was not the head of the Lucchese family, though.
No.
He was just of that sector.
Right. Through bribing and intimidating several members of the team, they ensured their bets on the point spread of each game would go in their favor. One of the most lucrative gains for the mafia was through gas tax fraud. They created schemes to keep the money that they owed in taxes after the sale of millions of dollars worth of wholesale petroleum.
Man, you want this petroleum so wholesome?
Some wholesome petroleum. They created schemes to keep the money that they owed in taxes after the sale of millions of dollars worth of wholesale petroleum. This allowed them to sell more gasoline at even lower prices. Michael Franzese, also known as the Yuppie Don, ran and organized a gas scandal and stole over $290 million in gasoline taxes by evading the IRS and shutting down the gas station before government officials could even make him pay what he owed. Franzese was caught. Franzese was caught in 1985.
Yeah, well, $290 million though. Damn. Well, restaurants were yet another powerful means by which the mafia could gain economic power. A large concentration of mafia-owned restaurants was in New York City. Clearly, not only were they the setting of many killings and important meetings, but they were also an effective means of smuggling drugs and other illegal goods.
Damn right.
From 85 to 87, Sicilian mafiosi in the U.S. imported an estimated $1.65 billion worth of heroin through pizzerias, hiding the cargo and various food products.
You ain't kidding.
Wow.
That's crazy shit. Another one of the areas of economy that the mafia was most influential in was L.A., Las Vegas, beginning just after World War II with the opening of the first gambling resort called the Flamingo. Many credit the mafia being a big part of the city's development in the mid-20th.
Yeah, you think?
Right, mid-20th century, as millions of dollars in capital flowing into new casino resorts laid a foundation for further economic growth in the middle of a frickin' desert. This capital didn't come from one mafia family alone, though, but many throughout the country seeking to gain even more power and wealth.
Mm-hmm. Large profits from the casinos run as legitimate businesses would help to finance many of the illegal activities of the 50s and into the 80s. In the 50s, more mafia-financed casinos were constructed, such as the Stardust, the Sahara, the Tropicana, the Desert Inn, and the Riviera.
Oh, shit.
Pretty sure the Stardust and Riviera are still there. I don't know about the other ones. Right. Tourism in the city greatly increased through the 60s and strengthened the local economy.
Damn right.
If you remember, in our Bugsy Siegel episode, they all knew all the stars in L.A. and shit, so they had them all come out, and it turned into a destination.
Sure now did. However, in the 1960s was also when the mafia's influence in the Las Vegas economy began to dwindle. The Nevada state government and federal government had been working to weaken mafia activity on the Strip, the so-called Strip. 1969, the Nevada state legislature passed a law that made it easier for corporations to own casinos. Oh, look at that shit, making it easier. Mm-hmm. This brought new investors to the local economy to buy casinos from the mafia. The U.S. Congress passed the RICO Act a year later.
Ooh, that's the big one.
Yeah, they didn't like that. This law gave more authority to law enforcement to pursue the mafia for its illegal activities. There was a sharp decline in mob involvement in Las Vegas in the 1980s. Through the RICO law, many in the mafia were convicted and imprisoned. Damn.
Well, when that did become a federal law in 1970, it became a highly effective tool in prosecuting mobsters. It provides for an extended criminal penalties for acts performed as part of an ongoing criminal organization. Violation of the act is punishable by up to 20 years in prison per count, up to $25,000 in fines, that's it, and the violator must forfeit all properties attained while violating the RICO Act.
Oh, shit.
While, though, so they say. So.
Right. The RICO Act has proven to be a very powerful weapon because it attacks the entire corrupt entity instead of the individuals who can easily be replaced with other organized crime members. Yeah, that's true. Between 1981 and 1992, 23 bosses from around the country were convicted under the RICO law, while between 1981 and 1988, 13 underbosses and 43 captains were convicted. Over 1,000 crime family figures were convicted by 1990.
Damn.
While this significantly crippled many mafia families around the country, the most powerful families continued to dominate crime in their territories, even if the new laws put more mobsters in jail and made it harder to operate. Yeah, because the 5 family crime guys, you ain't getting those ones, the bosses. They'll let their little workers go.
A high-profile RICO case sentenced John Gotti and Frank Locascio to life in prison in 1992 with the help of informant Sammy the Bo Gravano in exchange for immunity from prosecution for his crimes. And he did. Mm-hmm. Aside from avoiding long prison stretches, the FBI could put mobsters in the United States Federal Witness Program, changing their identities and supporting them financially for life.
That's crazy. Right. This led to dozens of mobsters testifying and providing information during the 1990s.
They did.
Which led to the imprisonment of hundreds of mobsters. As a result, the mafia has seen a major decline in its power and influence in organized crime since the 1990s. Yeah, so they say. On the 9th of January 2003, Bonanno crime family boss Joseph Massino was arrested and indicted, alongside Salvatore Vitale and Frank Lino and Capo Daniel Mangeli in a comprehensive racketeering indictment. So they're just getting them.
Yep. The charges against Massino himself included ordering the 1981 murder of Dominic Sonny Black Napolitano. Massino's trial began May 24, 2004, with Judge Nicholas Gararufis presiding and Greg D. Andres and Robert Henoch head in the prosecution. He now faced 11 RICO counts for 7 murders due to the prospect of prosecutors seeking the death penalty for the Shasha murder. That case was severed to be tried separately. Okay, that case was severed to be tried separately. Arson, extortion, loan sharking, illegal gambling, and money laundering is the other charges he faced. Got a lot of them.
After deliberating for 5 days, the jury found Messino guilty of all 11 counts on the 30th of July, 2004. His sentencing was initially scheduled for the 12th of October, and he was expected to receive a sentence of life in prison with no possibility of parole. The jury also approved the prosecutor's recommended $10 million forfeiture of all assets as Bonanno boss on the day of the verdict. So no more money for you mofos. That's why you shouldn't put in banks. Stack it on boats like George Young did. No?
Worked out for him.
Well, he did, because he ended up putting in banks like a moron. Immediately after his July 30th conviction, as court was adjourned, Messino requested a meeting with Judge Garufis, where he made his first offer to cooperate. Oh.
He did so in hopes of sparing his life. He was facing the death penalty if found guilty of Shasha's murder. Indeed, one of John Ashcroft's final acts as Attorney General was to order federal prosecutors to seek the death penalty for Messino. Messino thus stood to be the first mafia boss to be executed for his crimes, and the first mob boss to face the death penalty since Lepke Buckhalter was executed in 1944.
Oh, shit. Messino was the first sitting boss of the New York crime family to turn state's evidence.
Shitty when the boss turned state evidence.
Man. And the second in the history of American Mafia to do so. Philadelphia crime family boss Ralph Natalie had flipped in 1999 when facing drug charges, though Natalie was mostly a front boss, while the real boss of the Philadelphia Mafia used Natalie as a diversion for authorities, obviously. Right. 21st century, the Mafia has continued to be involved in a broad spectrum of illegal activities. They will be forever.
These include murder, extortion, corruption of public officials, gambling, infiltration of legitimate businesses, labor racketeering, loan sharking, tax fraud schemes, and stock manipulation schemes. Another factor contributing to the Mafia's downfall is the assimilation of Italian Americans, which left a shallower recruitment pool of new mobsters. Although the Mafia used to be nationwide, today most of its activities are confined to the Northeast and Chicago. Right. While other criminal organizations such as the Russian Mafia, Chinese Triads, Mexican drug cartels, and others have all grabbed a share of criminal activities, the Mafia continues to be the dominant criminal organization in these regions, partly due to its strict hierarchical structure. Yeah, just in those regions, but all those other ones have their own shit.
You ain't getting... Man, that Mexican drug cartel, you thought the Mafia was bad. My. Law enforcement is concerned with the possible resurgence of the Mafia as it regroups from the turmoil of the 90s. Although FBI and local law enforcement agencies now focus more on homeland security and less on organized crime since the September 11th attacks. To avoid FBI attention and prosecution, the modern Mafia also outsources a lot of its work to other criminal groups, such as a motorcycle gang or street gang or... a bunch of idiots.
Well, despite the law trying to bring the Mafia down, there are times when they have worked together. JFK. More specifically, the U.S. Naval Intelligence entered into agreement with Lucky Luciano, which remember from that episode, to gain his assistance in keeping the New York waterfront free from saboteurs after the destruction of the SS Normandy.
Right.
In World War II. The spectacular disaster convinced both sides to talk seriously about protecting the United States East Coast on the afternoon of February 9th, 1942. Yeah, because the Mafia didn't want those German sons of bitches in here either.
No, not at all.
They're like, this is our country.
Right. While it was in the process of being converted into a troop ship, the luxury ocean liner SS Normandy mysteriously burst into flames with 1,500 sailors and civilians aboard. All but one escaped, but 128 were injured by the next day, and the ship was a smoking hole. In his report 12 years later, William Herland's commissioner of investigation made the case for the United States government talking to the top criminals, stating the intelligence authorities were greatly concerned with the problems of sabotage and espionage. Suspicions were rife with respect to the leaking of information about convoy movements. The Normandy, which was being converted for war use as the Navy Auxiliary Lafayette, had burned at the pier in the North River in New York City. Sabotage was suspected.
Oh, probably. August 1960, Colonel Sheffield Edwards, director of the Office of Security at the CIA, proposed the assassination of Cuban head of state Fidel Castro by Mafia assassins. Between 1960 and April 61, the CIA, with the help of the Mafia, pursued a series of plots to poison or shoot Castro. They tried to assassinate that guy so many times.
Yep.
Those allegedly involved included Sam Giancana, Carlos Marcello, Santo Travacante Jr., and John Rosselli.
Oh, shit. In 2007, Linda Shiro don't have a story. She testified in an unrelated court case that her late boyfriend, Gregory Scarpa, a capo in the Colombo family, had been recruited by the FBI to help find the bodies of 3 civil rights workers who had been moited in Mississippi in 1964 by the KKK. She says that she had been with Scarpa in Mississippi at the time and had witnessed him being given a gun and later a cash payment by FBI agents.
Oh.
She also testified that Scarpa had threatened a Klansman by placing a gun in the Klansman's mouth, forcing the Klansman to reveal the location of the bodies. Similar stories of the mafia involvement.
Wait, so the FBI gave him a gun and cash to go down there and interrogate the Klansman? Damn.
Fantastic. Similar stories of mafia involvement in recovering the bodies had been circulated for years and had been previously published in the New York Daily News, but had never before been introduced in court.
Oh, shit. As part of the Mafia Commission trial, which is a whole damn separate thing that we'll get to, on February 25th, 1985, 9 New York Mafia leaders were indicted for narcotics trafficking, loan sharking, gambling, labor racketeering, and extortion against construction companies under the RICO Act. July 1st, 1985, the original 9 men, with the addition of 2 more New York Mafia leaders, pleaded not guilty to a second set of racketeering charges as part of the trial.
Ooh, prosecutors aimed to strike at all the crime families at once using their involvement in the commission. On December 2, 1985, Gambino family underboss Neil Della Croce died of cancer. Gambino boss and de facto commission head Paul Cassiano, he was murdered on the 16th, 1985, one of the worst days ever in the history of the world. In early 1980s, the Bonanno family were kicked off the commission due to the Donnie Brasco.
Yeah, that fucked everybody in that organization.
Sure in hell, Donnie Brasco.
A lot of people died because of old Donnie.
Yeah, and although Rastelli was one of the men initially indicted, this removal from the commission actually allowed Rastelli to be removed from the commission trial as he was later indicted on separate labor racketeering charges.
Okay, whatever.
Right.
Having previously lost their seat on the commission, the Bonannos suffered less exposure than the other families in this case. 8 defendants were convicted of racketeering on November 19, 1986, with the exception of Indelicato, who was convicted of murder. He was one of the guys there. In the 1990s, as the Colombo family war raged, the commission refused to allow any Colombo member to sit in on the commission and considered dissolving the family altogether.
Oh, shit. Just want to get rid of these mofos.
Well, yeah, they're warring within each other.
Right. Well, January 20th, 2011, January 20th is another terrible day in history of the world. The United States Justice Department used 60 indictments against Northeast American Mafia families, resulting in 127 charged defendants.
Damn.
More than 110 arrests. Well, they didn't get the other 17.
Right. Wait, what? 127 were charged, but 110 were arrested?
I guess.
Wait, 127 were charged and another 110 were arrested.
All right. The charges included Moida.
All the stuff that the Mafia does.
Right. All that stuff. Extortion, illegal gambling, labor racketeering. Yeah. It has been described as the largest operation against the Mafia in United States history.
That was only 12 years ago, folks.
Sure was. Families that have been affected included the 5 families of New York, including the DeCavalcante crime family of New Jersey and the Patriarcha crime family of New England.
Right. Well.
New England. That's what it is, guys. New
right.
England.
That's kind of like the history, but now we'll move on to kind of like the structure and the order of the Mafia as it pertains to today, which operates, obviously we know they operate on a strict hierarchical structure, similar to a Sicilian origins. The American Mafia's modern organizational structure was created by Salvatore Maranzano in 1931, with the 5 families, each of which would have a boss, an underboss, a capo, or capos, soldiers, all only full-blooded Italian Americans, while associates could come from any background. All inducted, I mean, he's a friend of ours. He's a friend of ours. All inducted members of the Mafia are called made men.
Yeah. He's a made man. What are you doing?
Made man, you can't do that.
This signifies that they were untouchable in the criminal underworld, and any harm brought to them will be met with retaliation. With the exception of associates, all mobsters within the Mafia are made official members of a crime family. The 3 highest positions make up the administration. Below the administration.
Wait, what? The 3 highest positions to make up the administration.
The 3 highest positions make up the administration. Below the administration, there are factions, each headed by a capo or a captain, who leads a crew of soldiers and associates. They report to the administration and can be seen as equivalent to managers in a business.
Right, and it's just like the GM or something.
Right.
When a boss makes a decision, he rarely issues orders directly to workers who would carry it out, but instead passes instructions down through the chain of command. That's how they had a hard time of prosecuting these higher guys. That's why they made the RICO Act.
Right.
This way, the higher levels of the organizations were insulated from law enforcement. If the lower level members who actually commit the crime should be captured or investigated, providing plausible deniability. Hey, I didn't tell them to do it.
What are you talking about?
There are occasionally other positions in the family leadership, though. Okay.
Whatever. Frequently, ruling panels have been set up when a boss goes to jail to divide the responsibility of the family. These usually consist of 3 or 5 members. This also helps divert police attention from any one member. Nice. The family messenger and street boss were positions created by former Genovese family leader Vincent Gigante.
The mafia hierarchy is set up as follows, which the boss is the head of the family, usually reigning as a dictator, sometimes called the Don or Godfather. The boss receives a cut of every operation. Operations are taken on by every member of the family and of the region's occupying family. Depending on the family, the boss may be chosen by a vote from the capos of the family. In the event of a tie, the underboss must vote. Oh, that's sad about. In the past, all the members of a family voted on the boss, but by the late 1950s, any gathering such as that usually attracted too much attention.
Right.
In practice, many of these elections are seen as having an inevitable result, such of that as John Gotti in 1986. Y'all knew he was going to be.
Right.
According to Sammy the Bull Gravano, a meeting was held in the basement during which all capos they were all searched, and Gotti's men stood ominously behind them, making sure you're going to vote him.
Right.
Gotti was then proclaimed boss.
Right.
You're going to vote him.
Right. Well, then you got the underboss, which the underboss is like a assistant GM, I guess.
Pretty much.
Which is usually appointed by the boss. He is the second in command of the family. The underboss often runs the day-to-day responsibilities of the family or oversees its most lucrative rackets. He usually gets a percentage of the family's income from the boss's cut. The underboss is usually first in line to become acting boss if the boss is imprisoned, and is also frequently seen as a logical successor.
Well, then you have this consigliere, which is an advisor to the family and sometimes seen as the boss's right-hand man. Think Silvio in Sopranos. He was a consigliere. Tony's go-to guy.
Right.
He is used as a mediator of disputes and often acts as a representative or aide for the family meetings with other families, rival criminal organizations, and important business associates. In practice, he is normally the third-ranking member of the family and was traditionally a senior member carrying the utmost respect of the family and deeply familiar with the inner workings of the organization. Right. He will also often appoint a trusted close friend or personal advisor as his official consigliere. Right. Well, why wouldn't you?
Now you got the capo, which they call it the capo regime. The capo regime. It was also, he was either a captain or a skipper.
What's up, skipper?
Is in charge of a crew, a group of soldiers who report directly to him.
Think Paulie
right,
and the Goodfellas.
Right, and even Tony in the first part of Sopranos.
Yeah, Tony, before he became boss of the New Jersey family. Right.
Each crew usually contains 10 to 20 soldiers and many more associates. A capo is appointed by the boss and reports to him or the underboss. The capo gives a percentage of his and his underlings' earnings to the boss and is also responsible for any tasks assigned, including moida. In labor racketeering, it is usually a capo who controls the infiltration of union locals. If a capo becomes powerful enough, he can sometimes wield more power than some of his superiors. Mm-hmm. That's true. In cases like Anthony Corallo, they might even bypass the normal mafia structure and lead the family when the boss dies.
Yeah, man.
Oh, shit.
Well, then we get soldier. In Italian, it's called a soldato, or soldier, is an inducted or made member of the mafia in general and an inducted member of a particular mafia family. And traditionally, they can only be a full-blood Italian background, although today many families require men to be of only half Italian.
Oh, of course.
On their father's side only, though.
Right.
Once a member is made, he is untouchable, meaning permission from a soldier's boss must be given before he's murdered.
Yep.
When the books are open, meaning that a family is accepting new members, a made man may recommend an up-and-coming associate to be a new soldier.
Right.
Soldiers are the main workers of the family, like a worker bee, usually committing crimes like assault, murder, extortion, intimidation, etc. In return, they are given profitable rackets to run by their superiors and have full access to their family's connections and power.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
And then you got the associate. An associate is not a member of the mafia, but works for a crime family nonetheless. Associates can include a wide range of people who work for the family. An associate can have a wide range of duties, from virtually carrying out the same duties as a soldier to being a simple errand boy.
Yeah, that's what Henry Hill was. He was never, he couldn't be. Neither could Jimmy.
No. He was right. He was Irish.
Yeah.
This is where prospective mobsters or connected guys start out to prove their worth. Hey, I'm connected, man. Mm-hmm. Once a crime family is accepting new members, the best associates of Italian descent are evaluated and picked to become soldiers. An associate can also be a criminal who serves as a go-between in criminal transactions, or sometimes deals in drugs to keep police attention off the actual members. Or they can simply be people the family does business with.
How about that should have been the only sentence? Associates are people that the family does business with. That's literally it. Jeez. In other cases, though, an associate might be a corrupt labor union delegate or businessman. Non-Italians will never go any further than this, although many non-Italian associates of the Mafia, such as Meyer Lansky, Bugsy Siegel, Murray Humphreys, Mickey Cohen, Gus Alex, Bumpy Johnson, Frank Sharon, Jimmy Hoffa, Jake Guzik, Gerard Ouimet, and James Burke. Hey, Jimmy Burke. That was the Jimmy. They wielded extreme power within their respective crime families and carried out the respect of actual Mafia members. They did.
Yeah, look at that. Well, the Mafia initiation ritual to become a made man in the Mafia emerged from various sources, such as Roman Catholic confraternities, Masonic lodges in mid-19th century Sicily, and rituals used by witches.
Oh, shit.
At the initiation ceremony, the inductee would have his finger pricked with a needle by the officiating member. A few drops of the blood are spilled in a card bearing the likeness of a saint. Mm-hmm. The card is set on fire. Mm-hmm. Finally, while the card is passed rapidly from hand to hand to avoid points, the novice takes an oath of loyalty to the Mafia family. Like, dude, I'm here to death. It's the only way out, boy. The oath of loyalty to the Mafia family is called the Omerta.
Omerta.
This was confirmed in 1986 by the Pentito Tommaso Buscetta.
All right. A hit or a murder of a made man must be approved by the leadership of the family, which we said, or retaliatory hits would be made, possibly inciting a war. You don't want that. In a state of war, families would go to the mattresses, means to prepare for war or be prepared in a warlike stance, meaning get your guns from under your mattress. You know, it was mainly derived from the film The Godfather, as the origin of the phrase is unknown. Omerta is a key oath or code of silence in the Mafia that places importance on the silence in the face of questioning by authorities or outsiders, non-cooperation with authorities, the government, or outsiders as well. You don't talk about it, man. It's Fight Club.
No. Traditionally, to become a made man or a full member of the Mafia, the inductee was required to be a male of full Sicilian descent.
Yeah.
Later extended to males of full Italian descent. And then later extended to males of half Italian descent.
They're like, dude, we
through their father's lineage.
Yeah, they're like, us Italians have been in this country for hundreds of years now. We don't have that many full bloods no more.
Right. Can't be that many half bloods either.
All right.
According to Salvatore Vitale, it was decided during a commission meeting in 2000 to restore the rule requiring both parents to be of Italian descent.
Oh, okay.
It is also common for a Mafia member to have a mistress.
Guma.
Yeah.
Traditionally made member, I don't know why that would be in there, but whatever. Traditionally made members were also not allowed to have mustaches, part of the mustache Pete custom. Yeah, when have you seen a Mafia member with facial hair? Homosexuality is reportedly incompatible with the American Mafia Code of Conduct. See, what's his name? Vito. Homosexual, yeah. In 1992, John D'Amato, acting boss of the De Cavalcante family, was killed when he was suspected of engaging in homosexual activity. He's a boss, dude. Shit.
The Mafia is currently most active in the northeastern United States, with the heaviest activity in New York, Philadelphia, New Jersey, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, and New England, in areas such as Boston, Providence, and Hartford.
The Hartford mob, huh?
It is also
they wear little sweaters that are tied.
Right. It also remains heavily active in Chicago and has a significant and powerful presence in other Midwestern metropolitan areas such as Kansas City, Detroit, Milwaukee, Cleveland, and St. Louis. Outside of these areas, the Mafia is also very active in Florida, Las Vegas, and Los Angeles, and also in Tulsa.
Right. Mafia Mafia families have previously existed to a greater extent and continue to exist to a lesser extent in northeastern Pennsylvania, Dallas, Denver, New Orleans, Rochester, San Francisco, San Jose, Seattle, and Tampa. While some of these regional crime families may no longer exist to the same extent as before, descendants have continued to engage in criminal operations, while consolidation has occurred in other areas, with rackets being controlled by more powerful crime families from nearby cities. Right. At the Mafia's peak, there were at least 26 cities around the world, or around the United States, with Cosa Nostra families, with many more offshoots and associates in other cities. And they continue to today.
Yeah, and it's probably just as big today as it always has been.
Well, let's see. FBI says the Mafia is alive and well. There's about 3,000 members of these guys.
That's it.
That's a lot.
Not that many.
How much more do you want to be?
A lot. Like 50,000?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Over 3,000 members and associates. That's estimated.
When I say over 3,000, that means it's like 3 to 10,000.
Oh, I'm sure. Okay, by comparison, what's the largest gang? 38th Street Gang is one of the largest what?
Hispanic.
It's 33,000 gangs are active in the United States right now. 1.4 million people are part of gangs as of 2011, so probably even more than that.
Yeah, that's why there's more than 3,000 Mafia guys.
MS-13, yeah, those guys are everywhere.
Oh, those guys are rough.
10 biggest gangs in the United States. The Vagos, the Florencia 13s, the Aryan Brotherhood, the Bloods, Cosa Nostra. They say right here they got 25,000 members. Mm. And this is in 2021. Crips got about 30 to 35,000. Latin gangs got about 43,000. 18th Street's got about 65,000. Mara Salvatrucha, another Latin gang, 70,000. And the Gangster Disciples in Chicago got 50 to 100.
The Gangster Disciples.